This is the truth about Kadena.
We're about to reveal some crazy facts about Kadena that you haven't heard of.
Welcome to the Bean Pod. This is your place for all things stocks and crypto. From beginner tips to expert picks. Use this as fuel for your investing journey, because when you're in the know, your money will grow.
This episode of the Bean Pod is sponsored by KyberSwap.
KyberSwap is a DEX and DEX aggregator which is built to facilitate all your DeFi needs in one single platform.
Fast, cheap, and safe.
User experience is KyberSwap's sole focus to make everyone's life better in DeFi. Welcome to the Bean Pod. This is Shane, aka the Jolly Green Investor.
And this is Josh, the Nifty Investor.
Today, we're going to reveal the truth about Kadena.
We're about to reveal some crazy facts about Kadena that you may not have heard of. So we're going to dive right into this project, learn about the founders, the tokenomics, the marketing, and whether or not we would personally buy it or not.
100%. I think when you talk about layer one blockchains that are sleeping giants that could potentially do a 50 to 100x, the name Kadena gets thrown around in the mix with these projects. It's something that we've talked about in our Discord pretty frequently. You know, during the last bull run, we were trading it for sure. But I think, it's time for us to really do a deep dive. I think there's a lot of people that don't know what Kadena is, what it does, what differentiates itself from Ethereum, Solana. And there's some really cool things they've got going on behind the scenes. So this is definitely an episode you want to listen to the end.
Yeah, I mean, the more you dig into Kadena, you realize just how good of a project it actually is. You know, have some really big advisors, some big names. They have a really cool technology. So Kadena claims to be the only layer one proof of work blockchain that's able to scale. I believe they're using like some DAG technology as well to help them with the throughput, but they're using proof of work that what Bitcoin uses for the security aspect of things.
That's right.
Because this is enterprise focused.
Yeah, so it's like a proof of work blockchain with the speed of a proof of stake blockchain.
That's right, yeah.
And it's funny when you do research on these blockchains, they all claim to have solved the trilemma, right? Mm-hmm. We're the only blockchain to ever solve the trilemma.
Yeah.
But the approach that Kadena is taking is actually different than pretty much every other project we've seen, and I think that's why we decided to do this episode. Because if you can keep that security of Bitcoin, and you can add scalability of proof of stakes and some other, faster blockchains, you might have a really interesting recipe for exactly what we're talking about, enterprise adoption.
Yeah, so what makes it really unique is the fact that it combines two different consensus mechanisms. So it's using Bitcoin's proof of work and the DAG. So basically what it is, to make it secure, they braid. So I found this really interesting, and this is how they're able to prevent hacks. It's like hack mitigation. And when you're dealing with the financial system, because on their website, when we dive into this project a little bit further, you'll understand kind of where I think this project is trying to go. But what they do is they braid chains together and offering not one, but 20 separate chains that all work simultaneously together. And this is really important because when you're minting blocks simultaneously on multiple blocks, it reduces the amount of time that attackers have to attack the chain. So I find that this braided chain technology that they work with is really unique.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things that caught my eye as well. So they have subchains, right? So when the work of one chain, the load becomes too heavy or too much, the subchains are actually preventing that. So currently they have 20 subchains, but the plan is to hard fork and establish blockchains with up to 100 subchains working parallel underneath the main chain in the future. And that's why it can potentially be used for enterprise adoption. If you have millions, 50 million people using one blockchain, it's going to get the throughput, the speed is going to suffer. But if there's 100 subchains providing power to this main chain through Kadena's system, that is where they potentially can set themselves apart.
And that's where you talk about enterprise adoption and the more it gets used. And there's a huge narrative right now around energy efficiency. With Ethereum's merge coming up, with the stuff that's going on in California and the power grids and all this stuff, right? Proof of work. They're talking about, how much energy Bitcoin's using for mining and whatnot. So the cool thing about Kadena is that it uses the same energy regardless of the growth of the network.
That's right.
So I found that really neat as well, based off of their technology. And another thing to take note of too is they have a private layer called Kuro, which is their layer 2. So you can think of this as like Polygon-matic to Ethereum. And the throughput is insane. I think it looks like it can do up to 480,000 transactions per second.
That's a lot.
Which is like, I think it's one of the highest in all of crypto.
There's definitely, a lot of those things that from the surface level make Kadena look very attractive. And again, going back to the energy efficiency, its architecture could make it the only platform that can deliver increased transactions per second while keeping the energy efficiency level, right? So, normally if a chain gets really popular and the TPS is it's maybe coming down and the throughput is suffering, the energy demand of the chain is going to, it's going to be a lot.
And that's where when Ethereum experiences a ton of usage, its gas fees go up. When Solana is built for speed and they claim to have X amount of TPS as well, but then there's a ton of hacks they have to deal with and outages.
Yeah.
So this is providing security, but the speed and the throughput with the TPS. So
and now going to that point where you just said about gas.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that we love about Kadena, right? They're the first crypto company to have what's called gas stations on their blockchain, right? So what does that mean?
So basically, the cool thing about Kadena already is that the transaction fees are already pretty low. But in terms of adoption, when you have people on our Discord or whoever follows us on any of our accounts, and we start talking about a project, then they're trying to mint something on Ethereum, right? And it's using up all these people are coming onto this platform. The gas fees go through the roof, right? What ends up happening when people are paying such high fees is it curbs adoption. So with the gas station, the businesses the enterprises who are building on Kadena, they will pay the gas for the user so that you as a consumer of the business, you get to utilize the dApp for free.
Yeah, that right there is probably one of the coolest things about Kadena that I found of anything that they're offering. So, if you're minting an NFT on Ethereum and everything's very popular and the blockchain's busy, you might end up spending $50 to $100 in gas. That's going to put off a lot of people because they just don't have that money to waste. But if a JP Morgan or a conglomerate of banks or hospitals builds a blockchain using Kadena and they provide this gas to the user, then you can go and use their services without wasting your money, throwing it away on gas. And I think that is going to be one of the huge things which drives adoption to their blockchain once it actually starts seeing real adoption, and also brings enterprises towards them because they know that's a huge selling point. It all comes down to marketing, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you're seeing a commercial for crypto or blockchain in the future. And it's like, well, with us, you pay no gas.
Yeah.
You go to, whatever it is, Ethereum, you're paying gas. With us, you pay no gas. Simple marketing. Like that is just a huge game changer. Yeah. So that's one thing I love about it for sure.
Me too. And so it almost seems like Kadena is trying to make it easier for adoption. Not only from the user perspective, whether it's you or I or any one of our listeners who are using one of the dApps that are built on Kadena, but it's also the smart contract language that they use, which makes it easy for developers to also build on Kadena.
That's right.
So they're making it easy on both sides for the developers and the users.
Yeah, 100%. And ease of adoption from both sides is key. For developers to have to come and learn a completely new smart contract language when they're, especially for newer blockchains that need to poach developers from other ecosystems. If you have to learn this new complex language, well, maybe you're just not going to go altogether. So a company like Kadena, which is offering us an easy language and also benefits for the consumer and the enterprise, what they're doing is potentially creating an environment where things can scale up quite rapidly.
Yeah.
If once the real world adoption does start for Kadena, things can go pretty well for them. And that's where you might see that 20, 30, 40, 50x. So, when you look at the ecosystem right now of Kadena, there's not a lot there. If you go on the website, you can check out their ecosystem. They've got the bare minimum. They've got a wallet, a DEX, a launch pad, a swap, a liquidity provider, an NFT marketplace, one of each of those things. There's not a ton of users on there, but when you're looking for these sleeping giants, these mid-cap gems, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for a platform that really hasn't seen adoption yet, because once it sees adoption, then you're never going to get that 100x again from the token price, right?
Yeah.
It's like buying Solana at $2.
Right.
Now it's down at 40 or 50 or whatever it is. It's still a bargain, but you're not going to get that 100,000x. The pre-adoption. That's what we like to do is find these platforms with superior technology that are pre-adoption. They are riskier bets for sure, but when you put two and two together and you hedge your bets over a few platforms, that's where you can find those life-changing gains.
Yeah, and I mean, Kadena's trading pretty low. I think it's like $1.50 or something like that. Significantly down from its all-time high.
All-time high was 24.
$24?
$24.
Holy shit.
So it's down to 150.
Yeah.
So right there, that's, 12x or whatever it is.
It's a hell of a position to be in at the moment, especially like they are. So just going back to that packed language that they use, it's readable by non-developers. And the cool thing I like about it is that it automatically detects bugs before the exploit. So in terms of talking about a developing ecosystem, Pact is multi-protocol. So right now, Cosmos developers can use Pact to build on Kadena, and they're working on bringing on Polkadot. So they are now starting to see this. They're starting to bring on different blockchains.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is sweet.
I think the whole thing about Pact, it frees you from the exploits, the exploits that you potentially face before it happens.
Exactly.
And it kind of reminds me of Casper, how you can change the smart contract. It's another way of mitigating. So it's like, if you fuck up on a smart contract and there's a vulnerability, well, on most blockchains, you're screwed.
Yeah.
With Casper, you can change it when it's live, whereas with Kadena, it'll test it kind of before it goes out for you.
Right.
So there's different ways of mitigating hacks and vulnerabilities and security. And I think having that as part of the sales pitch, so to speak, will work volumes for them for sure.
Absolutely. So I'm really liking so far their security, because hack mitigation I think is absolutely massive. With there's like 2 billion hacks already, $2 billion worth of hacks this year. So I really like their focus on that. One thing that really the one reason I didn't really want to continue investing in Kadena, I was in it around $5 and I sold off around $6.40, $6.50. But what really kind of deterred me at the time before doing the research, like more research into this project. I mean, we're researching projects all the time. It's was their tokenomics. So they only have 20% of their tokens in circulation.
Right.
But that's kind of why I was like, oh, fuck, they still have 80% of their tokens to be released. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be buying this thing, right?
Yep.
But when you dig into it, this is where it gets interesting.
This is the best part.
Yeah. So 70% of their tokens go to the miners. So the team only holds 6%. Early investors only hold 6% of the tokens. So the 70% of the tokens. So let's just get into the tokenomics here. So that 20% is currently in circulation. They have a max supply of 1 billion. So 70% goes to the miners, which is 700 million of those tokens. So that's all for the rewards for the proof of work mining. That's what the rewards are.
Right.
So even though, yes, they have a lot of tokens to be released, it's not really for the team or the investors, but it's also the period of time at which they're going to be released. It's designed to be released over the course of 100 years. So that inflation that's going to occur is really not that significant.
Right. So on the surface, you might see 20% circulating supply, and you think that you're just going to get dumped on. Yeah. Every time it spikes, you're just going to get dumped on. But when you look under the hood, the tokenomics are designed to actually prolong the project and make sure everything, especially when you have a project that is proof of work, you have to have the reward set up differently for the tokens going out to the miners, because it's a different way of creating tokens than most other projects, which are proof of stake.
Yeah.
It's more like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
The miners have the rewards.
So I found that really interesting. I'm like, because at first I was like really deterred from it, but now I'm like, it's actually quite good. 20% goes to the platform and 6% to early investors, and it's a gradual release to the early investors. Remember, it's only 6%, and it's released out to 2030.
Right.
So there's still another 8 years of release, but it's so slow. And what I really like what they did is, this was last year, they reduced the emission of tokens from 48 million per year down to 22 million per year.
Right.
So they've reduced it so that it's more favorable for the community. And it's actually the most community favorable token distribution among all layer ones.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we're getting into a few things, obviously, that it's sounding, the case for Kadena is sounding pretty good.
Yeah.
So, again, going back to their ecosystem, it is small-ish at the moment. But if you go to the website, you can see they've just launched, just in the past 6 months or whatever, a 100 million grant for Web3 builders. We always, when we look at how to do research on crypto projects, one of the things we always say is look for these grants. because it shows you that growth is coming. There is money behind the project. We've talked about this with Near Protocol. They had their $1 billion grant and the token spiked. This is back in the 2021 bull run. So when you see that Kadena has that 100 million grant behind it, they're aiming to grow metaverse, gaming, NFTs, DeFi, DAOs, everything they want in the Kadena ecosystem. So that's another tick for me, that they have that money behind it, and you just know that there are going to be projects building on it.
Yeah, they are developing, and what you want to find projects that are building right now and are developing. And the fact that they do have this $100 million grant, in addition to they are planning to double their employee headcount by the end of the year as well. So they're hiring. They're growing, they're hiring, they're offering these grants. Like that's what you want to see. So you said before we started this podcast, we're looking at trying to find some news articles and whatnot on Kadena, and there's really not a lot out there.
Yeah,
that could be a good thing. They're spending their efforts right now towards building versus marketing.
For sure. So now I think we should talk about the team.
Yeah.
Because the team of Kadena is another very interesting thing. So the founders, Stuart and William, they created JP Morgan's first blockchain and led the SEC's crypto committee. So right away, one of them built JP Morgan's first blockchain and the other one led the SEC's crypto committee. Like, we don't want to gloss over that fact, right? These are two, they've got connections.
Yeah.
And experience with the biggest of the biggest enterprises and government offices. That can come in handy moving forward.
It's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
That's right.
Right? So you see what the SEC is doing with XRP, Ripple over there. So whatever sort of connections that these guys have could go a long way. Yeah, they created JPM coin, I believe it was. So...
And I think it gives us clues into where they want Kadena going, right?
Yeah.
It's built for a reason. They would have seen problems in the enterprises and organizations that they worked in previously in their lives and said, this is the solution we need. It needs to be 100% secure, hence proof of work, but also scalable, hence proof of stake. And they've created this hybrid blockchain that, in our opinion, I think is designed specifically for these huge enterprises that have very vulnerable data, whether it be healthcare data or finance data or government data, that, we cannot have this being hacked.
No.
So they're creating this hybrid blockchain specifically for big companies, and with big companies comes big money.
Yeah.
So, you put two and two together. You know who's on their advisory team?
I do.
The co-inventor of blockchain.
Crazy.
Come on.
And he's the most cited author on Satoshi Nakamoto's 2008 Bitcoin white paper.
Man.
So between the advisor and the two founders, it's a pretty freaking strong community, eh?
Yeah. So again, you're doing your research on crypto projects, ticks, X's ticks, team. That's a massive green tick for me.
Yeah.
The experience of that team, the advisors on the board.
They even have, if you go to some of their lesser known individuals, they have software engineers from Google, Microsoft, etc.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like they're aiming at security, insurance, financial, and healthcare sectors.
Yeah.
And, depending on how you want to position your portfolio, it might be nice to have some coins that are going after these corporate sectors, as opposed to something that's more consumer facing, like a Solana or something like that,
right.
Games and NFTs and stuff. So if you're going to balance out that portfolio, some of these banker coins or corporate coins, whatever, might make sense to have a look at.
Yeah, especially when on the website it says capable of scaling to settle the 9+ million trades executed on the New York Stock Exchange each day. I feel like you can kind of see where this company's heading. And imagine if the New York Stock Exchange somehow, I don't know, was facilitated on Kadena. The transaction fees.
The New York Block Exchange. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I could long term they might build some sort of sister thing and Kadena, if it's the most secure, that is scalable it's built for this purpose. That's it's a long shot bet, but hey, if that comes through, this thing's going 100x.
Yeah, we all know the way JP Morgan likes to manipulate things too, so surely they're going to manipulate in their favor here.
If they come out and say we will never use Kadena,
Bye.
they're using it.
Yeah.
They're already using it, right? So let's look at, there are some real world use cases that Kadena has been building towards over the last couple of years. So they're working with a company called USCF, and they are developing financial products. So they're already kind of building, which would probably be like a smaller version of what they would eventually want to do with JP Morgan. They're also working with a company called Remedy, and they're working on a pilot with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA.
Right.
Working on an application that tracks where food is sourced from and if it's safe and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect.
So blockchain supply chain for food and health and safety.
No way.
Now, that is one of the things we always talk about, having a big application for blockchain software.
Yeah.
They're already doing it, and they're working with the FDA.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's a big one.
That's huge.
It's just in the trial phases, and they're specifically using it right now to track CBD oil from farm to consumer. But what they're doing is they're collecting this real world data and making sure everything is done as they say it. You know, you go to the grocery store and it's like, this is organic.
Yeah.
Well, are you sure that guy in the back just didn't put an organic sticker on it?
Yeah.
You know, if it's all tracked on the blockchain, well, you can trace it back to where it came from.
True.
That's what blockchain, supply chain management is going to eventually do for us. And if Kadena's got a one up and they're already working with a company with the FDA, they've got some lines on some interesting things here.
Yeah, I like it, especially with all the supply chain issues that are kind of occurring around the world right now. I think that's going to be an absolutely massive sector. I'd be curious to maybe even do like a deep dive into VeChain and kind of see where they're at with
Some
their
crazy facts about VeChain.
I think we could dig some up. If you guys want to hear about VeChain, let us know in the comments. It'd be cool. Maybe we could set something up for that.
Yeah. I mean, if there's any project you guys want us to do a truth about, a deep dive into, let us know in the comments. If it gets lots of likes, then we'll do it for you.
Yeah, we see all the comments you guys lay out there. We do appreciate them. There's some really lovely ones that are coming through lately. So we appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It helps us a shit ton.
Yeah.
And tune into the next episode.
That one's gonna be a banger.
All views expressed by speakers on the BeanPod are solely their opinions. You should not treat any opinion expressed on the BeanPod as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a specific strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. This podcast is for informational purposes only.